Justin, how are you?
I am good. I had a good Thanksgiving, even though this episode is long after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
How about you? How are you?
I had a great Thanksgiving. I just have to real quick because I can't help myself, Santino. Call me Humpty Dumpty because I am having a great fall. He texted me and asked me
Oh
never
my
to make
God.
that joke again on the podcast, so here it is. Welcome to Point of View. I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin.
And today we're inviting our good friend Erica Marshall to talk about her new project, Mind on My Mantra. For those that are new to the show or that are here for Erica, we have episodes every week, Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Justin, let's talk about things from our
Point of view.
It was nice. I ate a lot of food, which is what we said we were going to do. And now here I am on this here podcast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, because you've been demoted to guest now.
Yeah.
You're not no
I'm
longer
kidding. I just
my
wanted
co-host.
to be a little funny. I've seen. I have to tell listeners.
Yeah, let me prompt you. Is there a movie or something that maybe you're interested in, or an actress that has come out with a movie that you might be interested in? And would you like to tell the audience?
A little bit. I have seen House of Gucci, the film starring Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, and Al Pacino, and there's one other main character, and I can't remember who plays him, but I have seen it 3 times, and it's been out, I think, 5 days. So we're going really well with that.
Now let's compare this with how much you saw A Star Is Born, because A Star Is Born was her last major film that Lady Gaga was in. If you are new to the podcast, Nick is only a small fan of Lady Gaga. Just the tiniest of fans. A little monster, if you will. And so compare that with, okay, when A Star Is Born came out, how soon did you see it? How much did you see it?
Okay, so I saw both on opening night. This one I actually saw before technically opening night because for some reason the movie theater near me was showing it. I went with you on opening night.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. You were with me.
For A Star Is Born?
No,
nope.
You're right. You're right. You were my third.
It came out during a break. I think it came out during a break.
No, it did, because I did go on opening night. I went with Tom, Santino. There were a bunch of people there. It was a very random group. Keely was there, and we fangirled about it for the rest of the week. But I'm tied. I've seen it 3 times, but that's really all I had to say. How are you? Have you done anything exciting this week?
Well, I'm coming into the show a little bit chaotic because I worked at the furniture bank today, and there were 5 pickups, which usually is not that bad because it's a Saturday and I don't really have anywhere to be on a Saturday. I'm just doing this, and we had to go drive 30 minutes and then 30 more minutes and all that stuff. And it's great. It's great if all the pickups are ready, right? If all of the furniture is in the garage, or at least in the first floor or the second floor, and we can just go in, grab the stuff, go out, But this one house today, and this happens more often than I would like. It's like, oh, in the portal you had 5 items listed, like 2 dressers, a kitchen table, a couch, and a lamp. Great, easy. We get there. Oh, we're moving this coming week, and we're wondering if you could also take this and this bed and this bed and this mattress and also this TV stand and this desk. And so we're going through her house, and we're like, oh, okay. So we basically moved her out, and that was not what I was expecting to do. So that's why I'm a little bit chaotic, because I ran late, but it was good. It was good work. I enjoyed doing it. But I apologize to you and our guest for my chaotic energy. Not that that's anything different from how I usually come into these shows, but here I am. Take me as I am.
It's totally fine. You match me today. Should I introduce my guest or our guest? I don't know
You
why I
can
said
introduce your guest, my guest,
I don't
our
know
guest.
why I said my guest. That's
our
horrible.
guest. We are all the
Our
guests.
guest. Yeah. Well, apparently I'm a guest.
You can introduce the collective guest.
Yeah. All right. So our guest today, I'm very excited. She's one of the people I've wanted to have on the show since the beginning. Her new project called Mind on My Mantra. I want her to speak more about it. I am mesmerized every time, like I fangirl very hard, and she knows this. But anyways, we met in campus ministry. Her and I worked together for a year. She was the grad assistant in the marketing department, and I was the not marketing coordinator. I was the project manager, and it was really chaotic. You've actually heard a story about her on this show, but which I'm definitely going to bring up again. But I'm going to stop talking now. Let's welcome of Mind on My Mantra fame, Erica Marshall.
Hello. Thank you. I feel so shy and like bashful after that.
No,
Thanks. Yeah. Should I just talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, how are you?
Good. Sounding a little raspy because I came down with the cold. I feel like everyone's gotten lately.
Yes.
And I'm just resting after Thanksgiving. Other than that, I'm good. Excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm so excited to have you.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mind on my mantra. Yeah. So honestly, I don't know. It's still kind of evolving. I think like this summer I started. So for work, I'm a licensed therapist in Maryland and mental health therapist.
Yeah.
And
snaps for that.
I don't know. I just like wanted something creative to do. Mantras can be really helpful in therapy, like affirmations when people are going through it. And personally, words have always been like really, I don't know, whenever I'm going through a hard time, I love to like read a good quote or like read a good, just very like cathartic for me.
Yeah.
And I think like mantras specifically are good when they're used in repetition. They can just like hold a lot of power, and especially if you personalize them or like you make a personal one. So yeah, I don't know, the creative aspect and like the empowerment, healing aspect just kind of all combined. And it's just been fun to do like on the side as it relates to my career, but also it's just like nice to have something that's not necessarily work.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
how I feel about this show. Honestly. I'm
yeah,
serious.
Yeah. It's nice to have something and like you don't have necessarily huge expectations. You're just like, I'm going to do this and see where it goes.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions. So first, for our audience, I have some idea of what a mantra is, but do you think you can kind of define what a mantra is and what it's supposed to be for you and do for you, and what the idea behind what an actual mantra is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, honestly, I think like there's so many different definitions. Like it could be just like a phrase or a way you live can be like your mantra. It could be like words you live by or words you speak to yourself to like keep yourself going. I think there's a bunch of different ways people can like personalize it. I think for me, just kind of like that like inner truth. So like when people say like follow your truth or like what's your truth, I feel like that's connected to mantras for me. But it's a good question because I actually put that on my like one of the captions. I remember when I was first starting this, I like looked up. Same with you. I was like, what's like actually like a definition of a mantra? And like there's history behind it in different religions, but I actually pulled up the quote and I really like this quote.
I'm looking at it too.
You are? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It says a mantra is a sacred utterance, supernatural sound, or group of words that are believed by practitioners to have religious, magical, or spiritual powers. So kind of like what I speak to is like it just can be as powerful as you want it to be, really. But yeah, I think like inner truth and just like your own guidance in words, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that a lot of people know the mantra Om when you're practicing meditation. That's kind of what you're, depending on how you learned meditation, that's kind of what you're supposed to think about and kind of let everything else kind of melt away, but just focus on when you say Om. But it sounds like with your project, and it kind of relates to my next question, with your project and your kind of campaign, if I dare call it that, is to kind of encourage people to come up with their own mantras that can relate to them and allow them to kind of focus on that when life can get so hectic as it does, and recenter themselves using that. And so I guess my next question is, we've talked a little bit about Mind on My Mantra. What exactly is it? Is it a campaign? Is it, you've talked about a passion of yours. I know you have a social media account, but I also saw you had a little pop-up store that you had. So can you explain what the project is and how you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still evolving, and I've just been very open to like seeing where it goes and who kind of like latches onto it. I like the idea of like the mantras, like printing them out and having like I have one right above there. It's just like,
oh yes, yep, right in your kitchen, hanging up in the kitchen. Very nice.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, yeah, and I think that's just waiting for people kind of to want to like develop their own mantras is a big thing. I think just like the emphasis on like healing, like I've found mantras to be very healing. So like, I don't know if I've necessarily like defined it as a campaign, as like a project, but just like really a place of empowerment, I guess. Like, yeah, like an affirmational resource.
I can speak to the fact that, so I'll shout out real quick your handle for Mind on My Mantra. It is mind, MIND, period, like the dot, on period, my period mantra. That's correct, right? I just want to make sure. Okay. Is it bad that I know this by memory?
No, great.
No, I can say I really like it. It's such a healing space, I feel like, and it's so calming. Just like, it's so nice. I love when you post them on stories, like on your stories, because that's just kind of like, I find stories to be so like quick and just like I'm not really stopping to look, but every time I see one of those,
yeah, I think just like a space of healing and like support, and a place where people can go where they feel heard, seen, supported, and like held. I don't know. That's always been helpful for me. And I like when other people like Nick enjoy like what I share. And it's not just like about my words either, it's like about us, all of our like collective healing and what inspires all of us. So, it's nice to have that engagement when I can like feed off of other people. But for now it's kind of just taking its root and seeing where it can go from there.
I need to stop. I am on your Etsy shop right now. But I'll do that later. I know we jumped in. Justin, were you going to say something before I?
No, I was just going to make a joke and say, Nick, we're recording a podcast. You can shop later.
My Black Friday shopping. No, my small business Saturday shopping now. I got very excited about talking about this project, and I jumped into it very quickly. But to back up for a second, I want to talk first about our friendship in campus ministry and some of our funny moments. And also, just before we even do that, so we don't forget, if you were a fruit,
oh yes,
what fruit would you be and why?
It's a really hard question. I was Googling fruits to figure it out. I don't know. Like, I want to say kiwi, but I don't know why.
So a lot of people, when they answer the fruit question, when they come on the show, they give the same reasoning. They either have some wildly like creative reason, or they say, I don't know why, I just like that fruit, which is something. Honestly,
but I don't even really like the taste that much. I just think it's like so unique, and like it doesn't really get like, I feel like, we like throw chocolate or like something else, or we throw a lot of fruit on different dishes, like with charcuterie and stuff. But I don't know. I like that it stands alone and it's just like a cool fruit.
If you just resonate with a kiwi, you can just resonate with a kiwi,
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of respect the kiwi.
Yeah. I love respecting the kiwi.
To be honest, I think we have an episode title right there. We title our episodes usually after things that are said on the show, and I kind of respect the kiwi. It's great. I don't know.
I just can't really put it into words, but it's just like it's a cool fruit.
Did you ever meet? Was Ryan a Kiwi, Justin? I think he was.
Yeah. Ryan was a Kiwi as well.
Yeah, so that's our second Kiwi, Ryan DeVilliers, who's Justin's friend and my friend and Justin's roommate or former roommate.
But they are their own Kiwis. They are
absolutely.
own
Well, there are more than
individual
one Kiwi in the world.
I mean, you changed your fruit 3 times, so
I did. What did I start as? I started as
a coconut.
I started as a coconut because I do love me some coconut. Then I changed to a avocado because I was like, oh, like there was symbolism there. And then I was like, I don't like avocados like I like a cherry, so I'm a cherry now. I'm looking for my other half.
I was contemplating cherries.
They're great. I don't even like cherries, to be honest, but they're my favorite artificial flavor.
Oh no, I love the taste of cherries, but I don't know. I'm sticking with the kiwi.
I like it.
What are the name of the cherries that go in like Shirley Temples? There's a specific name. Maraschino cherries.
They're so good. And they don't have their pits in them. The pits are removed.
Right.
Which is phenomenal.
I remember those there's an old restaurant chain in the United States called Friendly's, which essentially went bankrupt. And they had all the fun cotton candy sodas and the blue sodas and the pink sodas, and they had the maraschino cherries in them.
There's still one near my house and one near my work. I like
driving by buildings because they had a very distinct architecture, and you could point at it and be like, that used to be a Friendly's and now it's an auto mechanic. You know, it's just it's really sad. But anyway, back to our conversation. Erica, Nick told me that an idea that you had for the show was and I really like it, is potentially coming up with a mantra for the show. And so we kind of talked a little bit about, do we want, like, I think we decided we're going to come up with one for the show, and then I might kind of take it a step further and make one for myself. But if anyone's listening and is really interested in the idea of having a mantra for themselves, how would you advise them to kind of, what advice would you give them to come up with a mantra that fits them?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know, I reflect on that because I can, like, sometimes I change up, like, sometimes you can do it by the day, you could do it by the year, like you could do it by the season, like the past few months, whatever you're going through. But I feel like starting with like journaling is like really good. Just like, where is my head at? What is something that I'm really struggling with lately? Like, you know, like a theme to it. So like if you're struggling to, like, let's see, like, believe in your worth, like a mantra that would speak to, like, I'm worthy. I don't know. I think like reflecting on your point of struggle lately. For the show, I don't necessarily, I feel like the show could just be like more like a mantra about like what was your, or motivation in starting it, and like how would that continue the, like, the inspiration for continuing it. But like personally, it's like, what is your, like, where are you wanting to grow, and what do you feel like is a weak spot for you right now that you want to, like, reaffirm yourself in and speak to that, I guess, each day.
I like that. I like the part that you mentioned about journaling. I hadn't even thought of that, but I want to do that when I do my own, like when I send my own to you. That's, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have to go to work after this. I can't even be like, I want to, like,
putting some things down on paper. Like, I also sometimes, like, I'll read books, and like if I see like a line that I'm like, ooh, that, like, I like those words, and like somehow wrap it into a mantra. Like just getting it down on paper is really helpful, because it's hard to think in your own head of really what to focus on.
Yeah. I think even if you don't come up with a mantra in a given moment when you're like, oh, I'm trying to think of it. I found when Nick and I and Dan met yesterday to plan this episode, I started thinking about a show mantra, and I found it to be a really, I don't know how to phrase this, enjoyable kind of like mind exercise, just to kind of reflect on, okay, why did we start this show? And this, again, is not my own personal mantra, but why did we start this? What are we doing here? And as you mentioned, why do we want to continue it? Or why do we want to continue it? And so I found that just bit of reflecting. Sure, reflecting is always nice, but I need some structure sometimes. And so just kind of thinking about channeling that type of reflection into a few words of just I don't know, not a mission statement, but like, I guess a mantra was really interesting. Just coming up with like a sentence or a few words of just, why am I doing this? Where am I now? And where do I want to go? And I think at the end of the show, we'll share, or maybe I'll share a couple of the things that I came up with for the show's mantra. But I don't know, I found it to be really enjoyable.
Yeah, I feel like it's very, as you're speaking to, like very grounding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it can be grounding every day. Like coming back to it is really nice. It's kind of like when people like come back to the breath in yoga, it's just like it can always be there and helps you kind of reflect around it. And as you're saying, like move forward and in that purpose.
It's very centering.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few other questions. By a few, I have a lot of questions about my mantra that I want to ask on the show, but I have to go back to one point in time. We were working together. I have told this story before, but I need to tell it again because you have said that you have also shared this story in your own life, and people just don't.
No,
it's not even. I don't even know. Maybe it's not even funny. But Justin, you've heard this story, right?
I'm not sure if I know what you're referring to, but once you start talking, I probably will have heard it. But
okay. So we were sitting.
Is it Help?
No. That was but shout out Katie McDonald. She was the graphic designer on the team. She still is actually on that team. But she was lovely to work with, as well as Rachel Teresi, the social media intern. I loved our team, by the way. Shout out to all of them. They were great. And Megan, who was our supervisor, shout out to her too. I don't think she listened to this.
Just giving everyone information about
and also no, I'm kidding. I was gonna just go through all of the interns.
And also vice president and then the
yes. No, but and the current interns that work there that I haven't met. Anyways, I'm gonna get to the friggin' story. So we were tabling for retreats. We had.
Are you sure you don't want that to be the title? I'm gonna get to the frickin' story. No.
Yeah. This would be the title for episodes 1 through 20, honestly. Because this is episode 20. But we were tabling for retreats. We had volunteered to table, and it was one of the retreats that like did not need tabling. It was just one that like is very, very successful. Signs up in the like it fills up legitimately within the first minute. So we were tabling and we were getting kind of bored because we had already kind of filled out this sheet. Like there was a long wait list, and people would come up and ask us about the retreat. And the thing about I'm not going to talk about the specific retreat because it is a very special one, and I want people who haven't gone on it yet to be able to go on it and experience it for themselves. But it lasts a long time after you have it stays with you, the retreat itself. So I was getting bored. And I decided that
I think it looks like Erica knows. I just want to point out
she knows exactly.
her hands, as Nick is talking, her hands went in onto her face, and she just kind of pulled her face back, like, "Oh my gosh, what is he about to say?" Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to finish it? Erica, do you want to finish it? Because I think it's just.
No, I just like am not good. I've tried and it's to tell the story, but yeah, it's just like we were really hooked on a song. I think like. Either like before that or like did it just like come about naturally because that moment was just natural. But
I know I had it on my phone and I was playing it.
Yeah, I think we probably started playing music because we were like getting bored and we were like, this event it just like needs to wrap up.
Yeah.
And then we just started like spitballing and like no one was really like grabbing the cards at that point either. Like, but like a little bit like we would joke around like when they come up like. So the song was Never Really Over, right? By Katy Perry. Is that what? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the song, but I didn't know if that was the exact title.
Yeah.
And like, if you actually listen to the lyrics, they're quite like enlightening. It's like, if it's never really over, and if you think it's over, you do it again. You definitely.
I can say the line that we were saying, but we were saying it with a straight face, so it wasn't like we were not bringing any sort of like negative. Like we were taking, we were doing our job. But when people would ask what it's like, it was like, oh yeah, well it's 4 days. This is we can't really say exactly what happens, but basically it stays with you afterwards. So just because it's over doesn't mean it's really over. And if I think it over,
over,
maybe you'll be coming over again. Like we were just like saying the Katy Perry lines while describing the retreat.
2 people coming up to the table.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not confusing them in the slightest. Like we were.
No.
It was making sense.
Well, to be fair, like this retreat, it's very hard to describe what it is because there is a lot of like secrecy around it, and that's just what it is. Like you have to go on it to experience it, and it's amazing. But how do you explain it? So we got creative with it, and I don't know if people recognized that I was, reciting Katy Perry verses, but it was a good time. I will say we had
two birds, one stone.
Yes, yeah.
We were having.
You gotta have fun.
We did.
You gotta have fun when you're working,
And I will say, like, it might get old when we tell people this story, but like, it doesn't get old for us.
No. Do you ever have those stories that are just like,
because the story's over doesn't mean it's really over.
Yeah, and if you think about it, everything you can apply that to.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this podcast, me being the guest, like just because it ends doesn't mean it's actually over.
Exactly. And if I think it over, maybe you'll be coming on the show again. Yeah. Anyway, it's really not funny, and I'm sure we just lost like 20 listeners, but it was just so good, and it's still so good to us.
Well, nothing's over.
Let us have this, please, listeners. It's just one of those things. But anyways, we can go back to mind on my mantra. I have a few questions.
I might need to go back to my mantra after that because you're starting to get so philosophical right now, and like I said, I'm coming in here with a very like unsettled energy. So
yeah. It's a very unsettling energy to that joke for sure.
To that, yeah. It's not that it's a bad joke. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
No,
right, I need to get into a philosophical space.
I guess you could try hypnotherapy. I've got to rewire this, but no, those are lyrics too to the same song. Anyways, we're gonna leave Katy Perry in Vegas. She has a residency starting soon. I'd love to see that, by the way. If anybody wants to go with me, any listeners out there.
I feel like Nick is a pop icon because he just knows everything about pop stars, like everything, oh my god.
I know. I know the song, but like I know he knows it better. So I was like, you just take it over.
You gotta leave it with him. Leave it with him.
I'm kidding. Did you have a reaction to that, Justin? Because I just made it chaotic for a little bit.
A reaction to the story,
or just a comment, or did you want to say something?
No, I think I've been reacting and commenting as we've been going.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like being too loud.
Yes, I wish I was there. I think that was the semester that I was abroad.
It was.
So I the only reason I know that story is because you shared it potentially last week on the show.
Potentially last week and the week before.
And as the story suggests, the story wasn't over because it has now continued on to this one. So
exactly. Do you have any? I'm curious. Do you have any mantras that you yourself are focusing on at this moment? Because I'm sure they shift. I'm sure you don't like.
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's hard. Like I was thinking about that. I feel like, I mean, this is like kind of dramatic, but it's like it's like a very small comparison of like choosing your favorite like child kind of thing. Like I just like all of them because it's like when you create some, I don't know. I mean, I grab words like obviously from other things, but like, I don't know. And once I design it a little bit, it's just like, oh, I like all of them. But I will say the one I have hung up there, I really like, and I didn't still feeling out like what people like, but I am a goddamn cheetah. If you know Glennon Doyle.
No, but I like that.
Oh yeah, she's really great, very inspirational. And that's just like she has a book, and that was kind of like she has this whole story about the cheetah and like why you should be the cheetah, just like about its like tenacity and like strength and all these different things. I like that one just because it's kind of like in your face and like kind of like powerful. But I also when I was looking at this question, there's one on my page, and there's like a few that I've kind of thought of, but like around the idea, I think it's like I trust the inner knowing that is guiding me. So like kind of that like higher power, like higher purpose aspect coming in there. I feel like, yeah, and I feel like, I mean, I think in a lot of people's lives, there's time where it's just like very uncertain and confusing, and it's like nice to just like think about the higher, I don't know, good that's working together. So I think that one for sure, too, is a good, again, grounding one that we've spoken to, and it's kind of timeless. So
I
think
I
those
really
are
like that. I think I need to start tapping into that inner voice, because right now I just listen to, you know, mental illness.
I thought you were going to say pop songs, but that was much darker.
I do that too. Well, I mean, Chromatica is mental illness in a pop album, so
There you go.
there you go.
it's fair.
Yeah.
Nick, to put you on the spot, if you were to take a lyric, not from the Katy Perry song, but a lyric from, because I know you're very much into pop music, and I think our audience by this point, if they've been listening, knows, what would you take to create your mantra right now?
If it were a lyric, I would have to say, I'd rather be dry, but at least I'm alive, which is from Rain on Me. And that song definitely is a mantra for me in and of itself. But yeah, do you have, I'm curious now, that's a great question. For both of you, do you have songs that you would consider that you would pull mantras from, or maybe Erica, you already have?
No, that's a good point. I should. I think, yeah, there's a lot of lyrics out there. I like that lyric. I don't have one in mind, but that's a good idea for me to do as well.
There's one that I have in mind that it's a song by Avicii, and I've talked about Avicii in the past and like how I really appreciate his music, and now knowing what we know about what he was going through and stuff, just the lyrics he has for his songs. But this is definitely way too long for a mantra, but it's the lyric, I've seen trouble more than any man should bear, but I've seen enough joy. I've had more than my share. I'm still not done. I'm only halfway there. I'm a million miles ahead of where I'm from, but I still have another million miles to go. And so it's just talking about like how everyone goes through rough patches, but also we've also gone through very joyous things in our lives, and to focus on, to take things, with a grain of salt. We go through hardships, but also we go through tribulations. And so yeah. I like that one.
Take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone heard Adele's new album? Because I'm sure there's a lot in there. 30.
Yeah, I mean, I liked her one song. I know she talked about in her Oprah interview of like the song "Hold On." Like when she was going through it, her friends were like, "Just hold on, which I think is really important in down times to like just keep waiting for that good moment, as Justin mentioned.
Guys, we're on we haven't really said this, but shout out to us. This is our 20th episode. So
shout out to us.
Literally, this is we made it to 20 episodes. Double X.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I'm excited. I love that. I love like the numbers aspect to this. As Dan and Justin will tell you, I message them updates about plays every single day and play counts and that type of thing. But yeah.
Erica, we've talked a little bit about Mind on My Mantra. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about who you are. On this podcast, we've talked a little bit about how Nick and I are recent graduates from college. You recently graduated, I guess, I don't know now because COVID time is weird, but you recently graduated grad school. And so I'm curious if you want to share a little bit about who you are as a person, which I'm sure will shed some light onto why in which you wanted to start something like Mind on My Mantra, but also who you are as a person and what you've been up to since graduating Loyola grad school.
Yeah, who I am as a person.
That's a light question, I know. So it's just I'm like what fruit would you be?
Where do I start? What day? Yeah, I don't know. I'm born and raised in Maryland, mainly Baltimore. So I went to college at Dickinson in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And then I came back, applied to grad school. I was working at Hopkins for a little bit, doing like research assistant stuff. I'm an only child. That's a good fact in there. And then I went to grad school. I decided Loyola. There were a few options, but Loyola seemed like the best. And I was pumped that I did choose that because I really enjoyed it. I was like probably the most involved graduate student ever.
And we thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you. Of course. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was all I was doing. I wasn't really working until I worked in campus ministry. So I was like, and I was also on a different schedule than everyone. So like I had night classes. So it was like really nice to just like go during the day and be a part of campus. I was really impressed with Loyola and like the students. I mean, you guys cared a lot more than anyone I ever met. Dickinson, love Dickinson, but like, I don't know. It was a cool experience.
Go Hounds.
Yeah. And yeah, so I graduated we went virtual when the pandemic started, obviously. And then I graduated January 2021. Yeah, this year. And then, but we didn't have obviously the ceremony until May. And in between that time, I went to San Francisco and back, which was a wild experience. Let me backtrack a little bit. I decided pretty early on to choose psychology as my major. I originally was a big sports, like, I don't know, I played field hockey, did a lot of different sports, and was never really a good student. But then in college, I had to quit field hockey. I kept getting hit in the head with the ball and got concussions. But yeah, so once I quit that, I had a lot of extra like time and just like energy to like focus on school. And psychology was like the only classes that were captivating my interest. And I just kind of really fell into that, loved it more and more. It weirdly feels like the field feels like home in a way. I just like exploring a lot of emotions. I don't know. Some people run from emotions, and I'm like, let's do it. And
Absolutely.
I don't know. I just like working with people. Yeah, I like giving back, making a change, stuff like that. And so anyway, that's also why I liked campus ministry a lot and all of you guys. But yeah, so after I graduated, this kind of ties in, I had never really lived outside of Maryland other than like Dickinson, which was an hour and a half away. And it was kind of like a college bubble. So it didn't really feel like I got out of my like hometown in that way. So I tried California. I mean, it was lovely, beautiful place. The job was just a little too much. Like I was a little in over my head and underestimated how important social support was for me, especially in this career. So after a little bit, I decided to come back. It was just kind of too much, too quick. And I mean, I'm really happy to be back, and I'm really happy at my current job. It's a lot. I'm still like obviously doing, mental health therapy work, but it's a little more, I don't know, definitely more support and just a little less heavy, which it's hard to go full force in this field too quick. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I currently live again, still in Baltimore City with my pup. He's sleeping right now. I'll let him sleep.
The cutest thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of my life. Work is a big portion, friends, family, and I don't know, mantra kind of ties in there too, just like kind of overall purpose and what kind of motivates me. So that's it for now. Only child. Another fun fact, I really like oysters. Just throw that out there.
Have we talked? I think we've talked about oysters before too. Maybe
probably. I like use it as a
I'm like on the show. Have we?
I was like, they're very slimy. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I like love them, and I say because like not a lot of people do. So I'm just like,
yeah.
Fun fact.
They smell good. I think they smell good, which is kind of weird. I feel like everyone else thinks they don't.
That's the first time I've heard that.
They smell good? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
They smell like seafood, like maybe the ocean.
Yeah. If it swam, I don't like it. But I do just want to say, because you said this a little bit ago, but I wanted to say it before we like move on. You are perfect for the mental health field. Like you have just a kind energy and just very, committed to doing the right thing, and just you also have just a very calming presence. So I think you found your.
Nick.
No. I don't want to do that because emotions scare me. Even though I talk about them a lot.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, see you around. Justin, you finish up here.
Well, I want to second that because I don't know if it's comes through in a podcast form as well as it does in person or, interacting with you. But yeah, I want to second that because I think, I know you're in the early stages of your career, but I just knowing you for the few years I've known you, you've brought so much light to campus ministry. You've brought so much light to social media now with your Mind My Mantra project. And yeah, I want to second that. And I also want to say too, just sharing what you just did, as someone who is, I'll say, doing some discernment about what I want to do in my career, it's helpful to kind of see those who are maybe a little bit ahead of me kind of notice that, okay, this position might be too much for me, or this, I might not be as interested in one thing as I initially thought. And so you kind of just talking about, and I remember I had texted you when you moved back to Maryland about kind of just what type of space you're in, what type of things, but just hearing you talk about it again has been helpful for me with me in this space, because I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe not pursuing something that I was initially interested in as well. So it's helpful.
It's very hard, I will say that. And I think like, at least because you were thinking like biopsych, right?
Yeah, so I was a biopsych major at Loyola and was thinking psych PhD route. But
yeah.
I'm not taking it out of the equation, but I have decided to hold off on applying for PhD programs this year.
Yeah.
Because my heart's not fully there.
Yeah, and that's a long haul.
Yeah. And as someone who likes a plan, it is taking everything in my being to not submit a last minute application, which is due at the end of this month. So
yeah, no, I would say don't rush. I also think like it's hard. I think in hindsight, I felt pressure to do that job and it wasn't necessarily what I wanted. Like, I think it's important to discern, like, what am I feeling like I should do versus what do I want to do? Or like, what have other people made me feel like I should do versus what I actually want to do? And yeah, I think the plan goes in there that way of like, what is my plan versus what am I being told my plan should be?
Right.
But it's hard. Yeah, it's really hard to discern all of that. And it's, yeah, I don't know, take it slow. And I think like I'm also not ruling out the idea of a psych PhD one day, but I also, the way I have been approaching it is like, I want to get that experience to know what I would want to focus in before I focus in it. And then I go into the field and I'm like, wait, what?
Absolutely. Because when you do PhD, it's become so specialized.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to pigeonhole myself into, okay, this is my specialty. Like, I can only do things within my specialty, because in reality, I'm speaking for myself, my interests are so wide and so varied. So, yeah. But thank you. I appreciate that. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in a PhD program together someday.
Yeah. You can't pigeonhole yourself too early because the field is so varied. It's not a pigeonholing field.
Right.
But anyway.
Nick, welcome back.
Nick.
Oh, good. No, I was listening. I was like, two smart people talking. Love to see it.
But I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I sometimes I just find myself like lost in listening to the guests,
I was like getting mesmerized by your blur screen.
I would see at that point I was like, look, ma, no hands, because my hands disappear behind the blur.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, there it is. Ah, yes, there it is. Look, it looks like I'm from the. Anyways, so before we end, I just want to ask, what was it like to have the pop-up shop, and would you do it again, or do you want to do it again? And what is a goal you have for this project? If you have one, you might just be letting it free flow, and that's fine too.
Yeah, the pop-up was really cool. It was really nice to like have it all laid out and see it visually as opposed to like on my Instagram feed. And it was fun. It was more of like, I went into it with low expectations. The store I was at was really beautiful. And so it was nice to just like interact with a lot of people there. And it was nice to get feedback too, like to see which ones people were gravitating towards. And I had a few nice conversations where people were really wanting like a mantra for when their child is born, like above the little like nursery. And I was like, that, please, let me do that.
Yeah, that's
adorable.
Huge honor.
Before we end, I want to share, as I had mentioned earlier, a few of the mantras that we had come up with for the show. And these aren't necessarily going to be the ones that we came up with. My inspiration was I went onto your Mind on My Mantra account, saw what was there, kind of took inspiration for kind of a vibe. I tried to get like an energy from it. And then as we had discussed why we started the podcast and where we're going and the time we're in. So these might sound great. They might sound foofy.
Let's hear it. You got it.
But these are the ones that I was able to come up with. So I noticed that a lot of your mantras had I, and so I just changed the pronoun to we.
You're very,
So I have, we share our consciousness to enrich our spirit. That's one. I have, we speak our truth to learn the truth. And then I did another one, which I don't know, this might be plagiarism, but it's often accredited to St. Augustine when talking about faith. But it's a Latin phrase, solvitur ambulando, which means it is solved by walking. And so it kind of talks about the idea of in order to learn, he's talking about in order to learn about faith and learn the truth about God, you have to just kind of live your life. You can't just stop and figure it out just by thinking. You have to kind of do. So I felt like that was appropriate for, there you go. Yeah, do. Yeah, point of do.
Those are all beautiful. I like those a lot. And it's funny you say the plagiarism piece because I always want to like use someone else's like words that I'm like, that's a mantra. Let's like,
right.
Like we can quote it. I mean, I think as long as we like put the source, we're good. But yeah, I like all of those. Those are beautiful. I feel like you should just kind of take over it.
No. This is very much your thing. But yeah, like I said, I had a good time kind of coming up with something that represented the podcast. And so, I don't know, Nick and I might have more conversations and Dan and workshop them a little bit more, but that's what we had as of
you guys
recording
should chat about which one you feel like really speaks to it. I like all of them. And I definitely sense the spirit from all of this.
I do
Us too.
And I'm excited to share it with everybody once it's finalized and we get it to you and we get it back. And
excited about this collab.
Yes, this is our first official collab. We've never had a collab before.
We'll have to continue and and we can just continue to do the mantras as they evolve for you guys.
Love it.
Absolutely. I'd love to continue. Well, I guess on a semi-professional, because I wouldn't call ourselves professional podcasters, but on a semi-professional level, work together on and collab with a bunch of this. So, and obviously, stay friends.
Always, first and foremost, friends.
Because it's never really over, and if you think it over,
we're never gonna stop being friends. And
but unfortunately, no, but you're not. But unfortunately, this episode has come to an end. But really, it's not. If you just sit with it and think about it, it's not really over. But Nick, would you like to take us home?
No, kidding. Thank you, Erica, for being here. We very much appreciate it. Again, at Mind on My Mantra, each word has a period in between it.
We'll put it the handle in the description too.
For sure. My name is Nick Gervasi.
And I'm Justin Dew.
You can reach us on Instagram and Facebook at Point of Dew. That's DOO podcast. That's all one word. Or by sending us a voice message on our website, anchor.fm/pointofdew. If you enjoy our show, give us a rating or review in the Apple Podcast Store or share us with a friend or family member. We'd really appreciate it and are truly grateful for your support. As always, we hope you have a great week. Thank you for listening. And until next time, H.
To say goodbye. Time to say hi to me. You're what makes you better. この旅が終わる頃には全て見つかるだろう。I'll never happy? Are you winning now? You are trying, you're fine now. I am happy.